Today, we're going to be ranking the top 12 Dynasty rookie wide receivers from this 2024 draft class and putting them in tiers, starting out with Marvin Harrison Jr. in tier 1 at wide receiver 1. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a generational prospect at this point. You know, the term gets thrown around pretty lightly in the Dynasty community, but Harrison is truly a generational prospect. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the route running, he has the pedigree. He is going to be a top 5 draft pick. He has everything that you could possibly want. He was dominant in college, broke out as a sophomore, and even though he had kind of a down year this past season, let's not forget Kyle McCord was throwing him the ball. Who was throwing him the ball in his sophomore season where he was phenomenal? CJ Stroud. That's not to say he was bad in 2023. He still had a 89.9 PFF grade, 26.7% target share, and a 20% touchdown rate, which is absolutely nuts. I think it kind of projects as like a AJ Green, Julio Jones type receiver at the next level. And I see him landing with the Arizona Cardinals, which is a massive plus for him. Kyler Murray is easily one of the best quarterbacks of those teams, picking in the top 5, top 10. Obviously, you have Justin Herbert, but I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to land Harrison at 6. I think he's going to be gone by then. But then we drop down to a receiver in his own tier. Now, Harrison's up here. We have Malik Nabers in tier 2. He is the only receiver in this tier, and I think Malik Nabers would have been the wide receiver 1 in a lot of other draft classes, especially last year. He is amazing. He had the best PFF grade for any wide receiver in 2023, 93.1, and had a 96% team target share while he was playing next to Brian Thomas Jr., who looks to be a late first-round pick. So he dominated at LSU. Jaden Daniels was a great quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he was also playing next to a phenomenal wide receiver 2 in Brian Thomas Jr. Broke as a sophomore. He's never been quite on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s level, especially not in 2022 when both players were younger. But he's projected to go 6 overall and is going to be basically a cornerstone dynasty asset the moment he enters the NFL. Now we have Marvin Harrison Jr., we have Malik Nabers, and then we have Rome Odunze. Not a knock against Odunze at all. I actually love Rome Odunze. I was a massive Washington fan this year. Really like Michael Penix as well. And I've seen NFL scouts rank Rome Odunze over Malik Nabers, which was a little surprising to me. But these scouts and these draft analysts know a lot more than I do, to be quite honest, at least from an NFL perspective. But Rome Odunze was just phenomenal at Washington once again. I want to get the notion that Odunze is a late breakout out of the way real quick. He played 4 games early on in his career at Washington. That was a COVID year. This is really his true junior season, so we're not counting it. He's not a 4th-year senior, not a 4th-year breakout. We're not doing any of that garbage. On top of that, he also had to deal with some target competition in Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan. Now, I know both are not phenomenal players like Brian Thomas Jr., but they're probably going to be both, round 2, round 3 picks, top 100 players. And I really like Jalen McMillan. I think the overall talent in that offense was very, very good. And seeing Odunze put up a 92, 1,164-yard, 13 touchdown season is extremely impressive. He's only 21 years old, so seeing him dominate, even if it was technically a senior season, is not concerning at all. It's not like he was just super old. And I really like him. I think he's also going to be a top 10 draft pick. Right now, I see him going number 9 to the Bears, which would be a phenomenal landing spot in my opinion. Kind of hurts with DJ Moore, but you're also going to have an amazing offense then. Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet should give him a lot of touchdown upside. And for a player of his frame, I think that's very important. Now, after those top 3 guys in their own tier, we're going to drop down to tier 4, where we have a few more players. Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. I'm really between Brian Thomas and Troy Franklin, but I'm going to put Thomas here because he's probably going to get better draft capital. Right now, it's projected he's going to go in the late first, which could land him with the Bills, could land him with the Chiefs. I think that is a very real possibility, and that would very clearly cement him as the wide receiver 4 in this class. He was also very good, drew a 16.2% target share. Obviously, that's not 20% plus, which is basically like elite numbers. But let's keep in mind, he was playing next to Malik Nabers, who obviously we talked about is a stud, and had 2.86 yards per team pass attempt, a very predictive measurement of success at the next level when you compare it with other stats that just tell you how good a prospect is. Brian Thomas is a good prospect, has a good yards per team pass attempt, has a good target share, had a good season. I am really confident in Brian Thomas Jr. I think I really didn't like him at first, to be honest, but after looking at his tape, looking at his stats, I'm really getting on board with Brian Thomas Jr. Then at 5, we have Troy Franklin, who I really didn't like earlier in the year as well. But after doing some more research, he's impressed me a ton. He broke out as a sophomore at Oregon, caught 61 passes for 891 yards and 9 touchdowns, and also had a 20.6 team target share in 2022, which we just talked about is extremely impressive. The one concern I kind of have is he's playing with Oregon. Bo Nix was an elite college quarterback. Doesn't mean he's an elite prospect, but going up against other college defenders, he was very, very good. Franklin also didn't really have much target competition, and in 2023, he only had a 16.2 team target share, which when he's not playing with other NFL-level talent, I would like that to go up, not down. So slight concern, though, if you throw on the tape, kind of has some hand issues. Isn't phenomenal in the contested catch department, but overall, it's nothing to freak out about. I think he's still a very talented player, and if you watch the tape, there's going to be a lot of things you like about Troy Franklin. Then we're going to drop down another tier to tier 5. So we got those 2 players in tier 4. Tier 5 is going to kick off with Keon Coleman. Now, here's where we get very draft capital dependent, but right now as a prospect, I'm shooting for the moon with Keon Coleman. He has a wide range of outcomes, and that's why he's just below these other guys, but he's kind of above the receivers in tier 5, right? He's 6'4", 220 pounds. A lot of NFL teams are going to look at that and be like, got to have him. I need Keon Coleman on my roster because he's tall, he's athletic, he's big, and right now he's projected to go 18th overall, which would make him the 4th highest receiver drafted on this list, which means a lot. Not only is that going to put him in a pretty good situation, but it's likely going to make him a starter, put him in an impact role from day one. He didn't really have a great senior season, only 1.87 yards per route run, 1.94 yards per team attempt, and a PFF grade of 70.6, so you're not really betting on the stats, but watch some film. You're going to see a lot of things you like about Keon Coleman. Has very good stop-start ability, good route runner, very fluid, which is kind of a theme of all these receivers. Then at 7, we have Xavier Worthy, a wide receiver out of Texas. I'm between Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, but right now I'm going to go Worthy. He had a 981-12 season as a freshman and had a 30.1 team target share, which is amazing. Unfortunately, ever since then, his numbers got worse, which is not what you like to see, at least from a target share perspective. He had a good season in 2023, catching 75 passes for 1,014 yards, 5 touchdowns, but his team target share dropped down to 19%. Again, still good, but it's typically not a good sign when you have a player start here, and then they kind of fade down the stretch as they get older. Not a great sign, nothing you love. But then we're going to go with Adonai Mitchell at 8. Adonai Mitchell is going to be probably drafted higher than Xavier Worthy in the NFL draft just because of his size, but he was never able to draw a team target share above 15%. When they played together at college, it seemed like Worthy was clearly the better player, so we're going to keep that into account as well. Just never some great numbers. Had second to last in the class for 1.68 yards per route run, 23rd in yards per team pass attempt, 22nd in PFF grade. Not good at all. I could honestly see Lad McConkey bumping him up, but right now I have Lad McConkey in tier 6, 9th overall, and he never really showed us anything from a stats perspective at Georgia. That said, McConkey pops on tape. He popped at the Senior Bowl, and right now he's projected to go 45th overall in the NFL draft, which means he's going to be given the opportunity to run a lot of routes. I think easily he could turn into one of the best route runners in his class and even in the NFL in a few years. I'm just a little concerned. I've never been able to see a full year of production in college, unlike some of these other players, but we're still going to have McConkey at 9. I think he could rise even higher than this. At 10, we have Jalen Polk, and he had a good 2023 season, 69 passes caught for 1,159 yards, 9 touchdowns. Decent stats, but he was also playing next to Odunze, so don't take too much merit on that. What I really like about Polk is the likely draft capital. Projected to go 49th overall. I think he looks solid as a wide receiver too. I think he could definitely fit in nicely in an NFL offense. But if he goes 49th overall in the draft, finds himself in a decent situation, I'm just going to be listening to the draft capital. And I've seen him, play well on tape. I don't mind Polk. Not the sexiest pick, but I think he's going to get the job done. At 11, I have Jalen McMillan, who is probably my favorite sleeper this year. I think he's very disrespected, and I would really rank him as high as the wide receiver 6. But there's going to be some concern about his injury and his draft capital, which is kind of a big deal. So McMillan flashed as a freshman, but broke out as a sophomore, caught 97 passes for 1,098 yards and 9 touchdowns. It seems like everyone's overlooking that. There's one player that's not really getting talked about that had a much better sophomore year than basically any of the receivers ahead of him. And he was very efficient, drawing above a 21.2% team target share, which is massive, hitting above that 20% team target share mark. However, he had a knee injury in 2023, kind of didn't look that good, kind of came back, wasn't great. In the college football playoffs, he was pretty good though, so it's a nice impression to leave scouts with. But if he gets a nice landing spot, if he gets some good draft capital, I will be pushing him very, very far up draft boards. Watch some tape on McMillan. He's just very smooth. He's a great route runner. He just finds space, and I just love his fluidity. Love Jalen McMillan. And to round things out, we are going to talk about the biggest future bust in the NFL draft. That's going to be Xavier Legette. I still have to pick him here because he's projected to go 43rd overall in the NFL draft, and I can't completely hate on the draft capital, but oh my God. Xavier Legette is just such a clear example of someone that's fool's gold. He did nothing until his 5th year as a senior. He goes to South Carolina. There is no excuse for not getting on the field. It's not like he was a Terry McLaurin, went to Ohio State, broke out late, but that's because he went to Ohio State. He was playing against other top target competition. Let's just think about it here. Xavier Legette is going to South Carolina. Name me one good receiving prospect that came out in the last 4 years. Comes to my mind is Alshon Jeffrey, but that was quite some time ago. Xavier Legette is just not good at football. I'm sorry. He is older than everyone. He is just beating up on them because of his age, but he's not good at football. I still have to take him here, unfortunately, because of his draft capital, but I'm just not in with Xavier Legette at all. But that said, that's going to wrap things up. He is going to round out our last tier. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see this for other positions, running backs will be next. Then we'll also, look into some tight ends at quarterbacks as well. There's not going to be as many players to break down, but we can definitely do some rankings. But if you guys enjoyed, be sure to like the video down below, click the subscribe button, and check out our future videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.